I was really tempted to skip the closing remarks and allow this panel to stay here for another 15 minutes. Incredible. Look, it has become something of a tradition for me to close our annual Translating Europe Forum. But I'm also, of course, very conscious that this is probably the toughest, as I always say, slot in this conference, just before lunch, but also after all of these inspiring presentations and discussions from these stimulating panels that we have been listening to. And yes, we did have an inspiring 3 days marked by really critical thinking, as you have seen, from different angles, different perspectives, and generally, I would say that I was also noticing a lot of strategic thinking and foresight in these discussions, discussions that analyzed where the language industry is going and how to chart a solid path ahead, anticipating and preparing at the same time for change. Once again, our forum has reached a very large number of registrations. Just for the record, we had about over 2,700 language professionals participating from around 100 countries. And in fact, we had approximately 2,000 online, and this is the biggest number we have in person, around 700 on and off coming here in this room. So it's very wonderful to see so many of you participating and contributing, throwing in your 2 cents in these discussions. That is so important. But the time has come now to wrap up this 12th Translation Europe Forum, 12 years of this event. And events like this, of course, are only as good as the people willing to take the step, take the mic, and come up on stage. So I would like to start with, to take a moment as we close this event to thank our keynote speakers, panelists, hosts of all the breakout sessions for sharing their expertise and insights with us. So please join me in applauding all of these people. And ladies and gentlemen, I am finding it hard actually to choose highlights and takeaways. Frankly, every discussion and presentation has produced outcomes that are really worth taking out from this forum. From the importance of clear language to training the trainers, from artificial intelligence to standards and quality, this year's edition has been a real feast offering a rich menu of topics and plenty of food for thought for all of us. So it is important to take a moment, however, to distill our thoughts and bring together the main threads of the discussions over the last few days. The first part of the forum focused on clear language and why it matters. In a world where democracy seems to be on the defensive, and autocratic regimes are gaining ground in places where democratic values once prevailed, speaking the truth clearly is more essential than ever. These days, I often find myself recalling an old statement by an ancient Greek playwright, Aeschylus, which I admire very much. And he said, the first casualty of war is truth. And this is ever more important nowadays. Along the same lines, we can think of some other American, this time, author, George Orwell, where in his novel, 1984, and I'm sure many of you have come across, quotes the big dictator, which is named Big Brother in this novel, proclaiming that war is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. This is how dictators and autocrats think. Whether real or fictional autocrats actually seek to manipulate language, twisting the meaning of words to serve their own political agendas. That is why clear language is so important. In her opening, the first day of the conference, Valeria highlighted that clear language and translation are two sides of the same coin. Understanding EU policy and law for us is not a luxury, it is a right. Our role is to deliver multilingual EU legislation that is high quality, efficient, effective, simple, and clear. But clear language begins with quality editing services, professional editors. And I would like to point out that one of the three core business areas that I have identified for growth here in DGT is editing and clear language, and will remain, in my opinion, one of the core businesses in this house. The title of last year's TEF was Words Matter. The title of this year's forum is Quality Matters. Bringing these two ideas together has been at the heart of many discussions over the past few days, because the quality of the words we write and use every day matters, and they matter profoundly in a democratic context. Dictators use language as a tool to control, manipulate, mislead, and confuse. In absolute contrast, in democratic societies, we have a duty to be clear and transparent with our citizens. This is the principle underlining everything we do in the European Union. This includes translating legislation into all the languages of all the member states, which is, as you know, a legal obligation as old as the European Union. It includes editing legislative proposals, text for public consultation, and politically sensitive documents. It includes raising awareness of multilingualism. It includes developing terminology databases such as IADE. Whatever we do, our guiding principles are always to use language clearly and precisely to enlighten and inform, never to mislead or manipulate. This year we selected the theme Quality Matters, taking into consideration the many dimensions of change shaping our world, from geopolitical shifts to advances in AI and transformations of the language profession, as many of you witnessed in panels and keynote speeches here. Quality has always been the cornerstone of this profession, translating accurately, meeting deadlines, using the right terminology consistently, and complying with industry standards. All these elements are part and parcel of what we mean quality. One of our panelists highlighted that there is no universal quality to fit all types of documents. It's about impact and intent. I very much agree with that. It's not only created at the moment of translation, it's also created at the source. Clarity of thought and clarity of language begins before translation starts. An obvious way, of course, to enhance quality is through training, as we have also discussed here, a subject which was also discussed in one of the panels on training the trainers in this forum. High-quality training benefits everyone, demonstrated by one of the Slido questions that we had here as well, which is why here in DGT we invest so much in our European Masters in Translation network, which covers, as we speak, 81 programs from 79 universities throughout Europe and beyond. It was great to see so many EMT professors highlighting their work to adapt training to new emerging skills, but also to equip students with the mindset for continuous learning to adapt and upskill all the time. Many of you are also familiar with the European Commission's Blue Book traineeship program, and we have quite a number of trainees here today, which brings actually several hundred of young people from every corner of our continent to gain work experience at the Commission for 5 months each. We get thousands of trainees in the Commission, but as DGT, we have the largest proportion of trainees with a regular figure of at least 100 trainees per year. They get hands-on experience in everything we do, from communication and editing to language technologies, AI, and of course, translation and terminology. But training is not just for young professionals. In today's fast-changing technological landscape, lifelong learning has never been important. And of course, I will not elaborate too much on the initiative that we have been launching and promoting right from our President, Ursula von der Leyen, on the Union of Skills, on skills portability, and all the rest that comes with it. And I really am looking forward to how much more we can do in this area, which will determine the infrastructure of the European Union in terms of its youth going forward. And training ensures that at every stage of our career, we remain relevant and capable of delivering high-quality work. In the age of artificial intelligence, quality has taken a new dimension, and of course, the discussions have demonstrated that it is also a dimension which can be debatable from different perspectives, from one extreme to the other extreme. When we talk about quality in translation today, we also mean, of course, the unique value that professional linguists bring, and that will not go away, something that goes actually beyond what machine translation or AI algorithms can produce. Bruno echoed this very idea yesterday in the morning, emphasizing the importance of creating value rather than providing quality, since value is a true measure of performance. And this is the reality, ladies and gentlemen, in the language industry as we speak. Value incorporates, however, at the same time, trust, compliance, and is not it is much more than cost per page. And then this morning, we explored quality and value in depth during the high-level discussion that I found fascinating and exciting as well. But how can we ensure the quality of AI-generated content? How can we maintain high standards of relevance, accuracy, and engagement for output, from output coming out of AI engines? And perhaps most importantly, in a multilingual and multinational environment like the European institutions, how can we best use AI responsibly with cultural sensitivity, equity, and non-discrimination to create value, non-discrimination for no language? I always say, in this day of age, no language must be left behind in the development of AI. And it is very important to make sure that those citizens, those fellow citizens that are not as technologically advanced, or they don't have the possibilities to be so technologically advanced, are not left behind because of the dominance of certain languages, as also was mentioned in the area of large language models and AI. That is why in DGT, we are very actively engaged and at the forefront of the Commission's work in developing AI services. And this is what I call the third strand that I have earmarked in repositioning DGT in the whole of the context of the Commission. Translation being, of course, the core business, editing, clear writing, and AI services. And this is how I see, in a small and brief way, the vision of organizations in the language industry moving forward. At the same time, of course, the role of professional linguists remain central. Translators, and now I add editors. Let me rephrase that. Language professionals, which covers everything. And this is a term that, as far as I am concerned, you will hear me use more and more, instead of distinguishing translators, editors, terminologists, quality experts, computational linguists. I cover all of that with language professionals. So the role of language professionals remains central. They can still grasp the full meaning of a text in a way that machines for now or algorithms cannot. I don't know what will happen next year. I saw the slides about what do you think will happen in 3, 5, 10 years. I don't know what will happen next year. And anybody that tells you that they can foresee what will be the shape and form of this industry in 2 to 3 years from now, I'm not sure they really have reflected about it seriously. Now, of course, these language professionals, we expect them, and they are really empathizing with the author of the text. They can visualize the words they use to describe and narrate. They understand the context, and most important, again, for the moment, something that does not exist in a technological context, they still can convey emotions, because emotions can only be conveyed through a human person. So, despite the opportunities offered by new technologies that we cannot ignore, in my opinion, humble opinion, I am confident that professional language services continue to provide value now, and they will continue to provide value in the future. I would like to echo one of our speakers who said, the future is being shaped right now by all of us here and also those out there in the virtual world that are listening to us and participating in this forum. And that is what gives me confidence, because I see a great deal of talent, quality, innovation, and dedication in this profession. One of the favorite moments at this year's TEF was the awards ceremony for the winners of the contest, Present Your Thesis in 3 minutes. I apologize that I'm not having these closing remarks in 3 minutes. I still do not have that capacity. But the exceptional and talent and professionalism, yes, I do not hesitate to use the word professionalism of our students is really impressive. And again, congratulations to all 4 winners that we have seen here. That exact same youthful energy was on display just a moment ago. We need to think, guys, whether this panel should have been the first in this forum. Where 4 more exceptional young professionals debated in a very provocative way. I was really provoked. I was tempted to ask questions. I was tempted to intervene. But then I restrained myself. But this is exactly what we need to do. We need to be able to maintain an open mind and listen to opinions and approaches for the topics that are very close to our hearts, even if we do not agree with them. So, like I said, And of course, all of these people, what is equally important is that over the next few years, they will witness technological changes that no one of us can even imagine. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed and benefited from this edition of the Translating Europe Forum. We all need to be also mindful of how fortunate we are to still have the opportunity to come together and discuss these matters in a safe and welcoming environment. But we should also remain mindful on what is happening to the communities in the neighborhood of our European Union. Communities who are still facing war and aggression. The people of Ukraine. The people in the Middle East, Sudan, and other areas of this planet. In this political climate, we should also take a step back to consider the bigger picture, the need to protect our union and to foster solidarity and community among our diverse, yes, cultures and mindsets. The Italian literary translator Anna Rusconi once commented that words travel worlds, translators to the driving. Remember this. When you return home, back to the work you love and do so well. Some of you will go back and keep translating literature, opening up new words for readers. Some will work on commercial documents, helping to facilitate trade between nations. Others will work on diplomatic and policy efforts to help our neighbors face aggression, survive and thrive once more. And here in DGT, we will continue to have a focus on translating legal, diplomatic, economic and political texts which continue to support the spirit and action for a united Europe in these challenging times. Whatever the content, your work as language professionals contributes, whatever the content, that content contributes to the sum of human knowledge, promotes peace, and brings people from diverse backgrounds together. Building on last year's theme, words matter, and this year's theme, quality matters, I would also add, language professionals matter. I hope that after our networking lunch, in just a few moments, don't worry, I didn't forget about it. Many of you will also participate in the online newcomers fair. It's important that you take part in that. And I think I would, are we having a feedback survey as well? You will talk about it later. So this is where now I start making you exercise a bit. If you can applaud really loud, please, for our hosts, Micha and Anna. Can I ask all the trainees that are in this room, at least those that are in the room, please stand up. Guys, we wouldn't be able to make it without you, I'm telling you. I said that to you in a meeting that we all had together. We wouldn't be able to make it without you. Of course, my also personal thanks and congratulations to whom else, the organizing team that you see sitting right here and working from the background, in the foreground, from whatever angles you like. And this is my communications unit. Thank you very much. They asked me not to ask them to stand up. Last, but not least, the big thank you actually goes to all of the participants, you, here and out there. Whether here or in person, you have made this Translating Europe Forum once again a big success. Thank you. So, I look forward to seeing you again at the 13th edition of the Translating Europe Forum. Yes, I don't know if you guys will still volunteer for it, but yes, we will have another edition.
You
and
did
that
say
will be...
you didn't know what happens in 1 year.
Yeah, that is also true. Look, we will have the 13th edition. So, have an excellent weekend, and for those of you traveling, have a safe trip home. Thank you.